Welcome back to another Explainer Focus Learners. Today, we're jumping right into the incredibly high-stakes, microscopic world of telecommunications, specifically the immense pressure of fusion splicing. We are looking at a crucial piece of guidance straight from the experts at DAK Fiber. The title here says it all. Tip of the day, number 5, achieve low-loss fusion splicing. So grab your notebooks and let's get focused on exactly how we keep the world connected. Okay, let's dive into this zero point 0.1 dB. Now, in the world of fiber optics, when you melt two microscopic strands of glass together, you know you're going to lose a tiny bit of light. That's just physics. But DAK fiber makes it absolutely crystal clear. A good splice loss should be strictly below zero point 0.1 dB. It is the golden metric. When you hit that mark, the light pulses barely even register the junction. They just keep flying down the line. But man, the second you start creeping above that threshold, you aren't just losing light, you are losing data integrity. This number right here is literally the baseline for a healthy network. But what happens when you miss that mark? Well, the source material highlights something pretty terrifying, honestly. A bad splice is basically a ticking time bomb just sitting there, hidden inside a splice enclosure. It almost never just snaps the second you finish it. It doesn't throw up a red flag. Instead, it hides. Technically, the glass might be fused, but on a microscopic level, there's real trouble. Maybe it's a microscopic air bubble, a slight misalignment, or a microfracture. And it's just sitting out there on a pole, expanding in the summer heat, contracting in the winter cold, degrading little by little. It is literally just waiting for the worst possible moment to totally tank your network's reliability. Let's put you right in the shoes of a field tech for a second. Imagine you've just finished up a splice. You glance at your equipment, and Side A says, "Works today." Awesome, right? The connection is live, light's passing through perfectly. You pack up your fusion splicer, you seal up that enclosure, and you drive off feeling pretty great about a hard day's work. But DAK Fiber hits us with the harsh reality of Side B. It fails in 2 weeks. That is the exact timeline they warn us about. 14 days of microscopic stress, 14 days of that compromised glass getting weaker and weaker until, bam, the signal drops completely. That false sense of security on day 1 is totally wiped out by an inevitable, miserable failure on day 14. And when that failure inevitably hits, you get to deal with the absolute nightmare of every field technician out there, the costly return visit. Or, as we call it in the industry with a massive collective groan, rolling a truck. It is the incredibly expensive, unbelievably frustrating, and just totally avoidable act of loading up a utility truck, driving all the way back out to a site, usually when it's pouring rain or, 2 in the morning, just to crack open an enclosure you literally sealed 2 weeks ago, all to fix a mistake you could have prevented. It wastes your time, it burns the company's money, and it completely wrecks your schedule for the day. And let's look at how fast things go off the rails, because DAK Fiber outlines this really specific, incredibly stressful chain reaction. It's a complete cascading domino effect. First off, the network experiences high loss. That instantly means slow internet for the end user. Cue the customer complaints about buffering. Then you start seeing that dreaded intermittent LOS, loss of signal, just blinking away on the equipment. The connection is literally gasping for air, dropping in, dropping out. Next, a total physical break right at that weakened splice point. The glass just gives up entirely. And what does all of this culminate in? Those costly return visits we just talked about. A full-blown, panic-inducing emergency, all born from one tiny, rushed moment. Okay, deep breath. Let's bring the stress levels down a notch. We've looked at the disaster scenario, but we're definitely not leaving you hanging. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that DAK Fiber doesn't just point out the problem, they give us a foolproof, actionable solution. We are moving from that pure anxiety of a failing network back to calm, deliberate control. They've given us a precise, 3-step remedy for achieving that low-loss splicing we talked about at the start. This right here is exactly how you take back control and make sure your work holds up not just for 2 weeks, but for 2 decades. So let's walk through this best practice procedure step by step. Step 1. Clean that fiber with an alcohol wipe before you even think about cleaving it. You absolutely cannot fuse dirty glass. I mean, even a microscopic speck of dust, or just the natural oils from your fingers, will completely ruin the melt. The alcohol strips all of that away. Right, step 2. Cleave at exactly 90 degrees. And this is crucial. Check it on the splicer screen. Seriously, do not trust your naked eye on this one. A bad cut means the glass won't align, so you need a sheer, perfectly flat microscopic wall. And finally, step 3. Protect the splice in the sleeve and place it in the tray with absolutely zero tension. This is vital. The newly fused glass has a shrink sleeve on it, sure, but if you pull on it or bend it too sharply as you're laying it into the tray, you are introducing the exact stress factors that cause that two-week failure. Zero tension is the golden rule here. When you really step back and look at those 3 steps, what we're actually talking about is a fundamental shift in mindset. It's about building better networks from the ground up. Those extra couple of seconds you spend making sure your alcohol wipe is thorough, verifying that 90-degree angle on the screen, and gently, very gently, routing the fiber into the tray without any tension, that is not lost time. You've got to reframe that in your head. Those extra 30 seconds are a massive, high-yield investment. You are spending a tiny fraction of time right now to buy yourself serious insurance against future misery, network outages, and super angry customers. You're elevating yourself from just doing a job to actually crafting reliable infrastructure. DAK Fiber wraps up this whole philosophy into one seriously powerful piece of advice. Don't rush splicing. A clean cleave and proper alignment saves you a callback tomorrow. And this brilliantly illustrates a core truth of field engineering. Patience is quite literally a physical tool in your toolkit. Just like your wire strippers, your cleaver, or your fusion splicer. If you rush it, you are leaving a time bomb behind. But if you are deliberate, clean, and exact, you're leaving behind a permanent, rock-solid connection. You're literally saving your future self from a massive headache tomorrow, or, 2 weeks from now. So, as we wrap up this explainer on DAK Fiber's essential guidance, I want to leave you with one final, provocative thought. It's a bit of a challenge to every technician, engineer, or focused learner out there who builds things meant to last. Next time you're out there in the elements, closing up that splice tray and sealing the enclosure, I want you to ask yourself honestly, will your splice survive the next 2 weeks? Did you actually hit that 0.1 dB mark? Did you genuinely use zero tension? If you followed the 3 steps we unpacked today, the answer will confidently be yes. Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive, and hey, keep building better networks.